Hey everybody, welcome back to What Are You Chasing? I'm Crystal Hood, here with your other host, Jennifer Buck.
Hello.
And today we are going to talk a little bit about the inner narrative and changing your inner narrative from a 3P standpoint. It's a little bit different than what we hear in the mainstream, so to speak.
I was always taught to challenge my thinking. If I have a bad thought, challenge it with a good thought. Try to replace the negative thinking with the positive thinking. And that was exhausting. It was hard. And it takes so much energy because then you're paying attention to every thought that comes into your head and trying to decide if it's good or bad and if you need to challenge it or not. And we have a lot of thinking. There's a lot of thoughts that go through our head every day. And if you try to give your attention to every last one of them, you're tired.
Yes. Yeah.
And the whole thing with the 3Ps, we're not looking at trying to battle our thinking. We're looking at what our thinking actually is, which is made up in our heads, brought to life by our consciousness. And when we see it as nothing more than that, it changes the experience of our thinking.
It does. Yeah, from a 3P standpoint, just like you said, it's seeing that thought is thought, nothing more. That's what it is. So that's kind of the difference between, the normal, what people think about rewriting your narrative. Like you said, totally exhausting, trying to control every single thought, trying to say, okay, well, I don't like this part of my story, so I'm going to rewrite it to this part of my story. And then, that might work for a little while. But then what happens? You got to rewrite your story again and again and again. And like you said, that's absolutely exhausting. And it's when people see that, that's not possible to control your thoughts and that there is a better way. That's what Jen and I are pointing to. There is a better way. Just like Jen was saying, realizing where your thoughts are coming from, realizing that those stories that you're playing where you're trying to control your narrative, they're not true. They're not truth, no matter how much you want them to be. They're not the truth. That's you, like being an editor, so to speak, and editing every line that comes through your head. No way. I don't know that I could. I would be exhausted. I would
Well,
need like 5 naps a day.
yes, and it's our minds are set up to fill in the blanks. So when something happens, we automatically fill in the blanks with what we don't know. And I am not for sure why, but a lot of times we go worst case scenario. That's just what we do. A pipe breaks and it's like, oh, this is going to be $1,000 that I don't have. And then we go into this whole, and when we realize this is where that, is this true? Is this not true? Or did I just make this up? Comes in. Because when we can see that, oh, I really don't know the answers, and trying to be helpful, my mind is filling in the blanks, but it's causing me to have a bad experience. When we see that and see what's happening in the big picture, it's like we have to zoom out a little bit. We have to stop focusing on the little details and look at the bigger picture. And in doing that, we see that all of that stress, that worry, that it's made up. It's made up because our mind is doing its job, and then our body is telling us, hey, your mind's kind of overworking. And we're not listening to it. We're just feeding it more, causing us to go downhill faster.
And getting caught up in those rabbit holes that we've talked about before, spiraling, so to speak, when we're listening to these stories and we're trying to change these stories. Sometimes I don't even know why. Like you said, we do. We go to the negative, and all of a sudden, your narrative that you're playing in here is just all negative. It's all bad. And so, yeah, that's the spiral I speak of, that we go down this spiral and then we want to know why. Why am I always
Or
sad? Why am I
where are
always,
these thoughts coming from?
yeah, why am I always angry? Where are they coming from?
But I'm going to let you in on a secret that I was way too old when I learned it. That is that you can't think yourself into clarity. You can't think yourself into a better state of mind. You can't think yourself anyway where it's up or down, it seems. The more, even when it's positive thinking, but we have a whole bunch of it and we're trying to, it causes stress.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Clever.
and it just, when we can see where that thinking is coming from, what's creating it, which is us. Okay, then we don't have to fight it when those bad thoughts come in. We just have to not engage. I'm so big on that. Do not engage. Do not engage with your thinking. Engage with the world around you.
Yeah.
When we drop our thinking, when we can see it as thinking, and that pulls us back into the present moment, then it opens up that space and we get to see with clarity.
Yeah.
And from that stillness, that space, so many opportunities that we didn't even see before because we were going so fast just show up. Like they're there, ready for the taking, but we're in such a huge hurry to figure things out on our own that we pass by it because we're up in our heads, not paying attention to what's going on around us.
Yeah. First of all, you read my mind literally with the space, right? That space, the space in between thought, the space of having a slower mind and less thinking, not all these stories going on up here. Just like you said, it creates that space for other things. It creates space for a fresh new idea to come in, like Jen was pointing at, for creativity to come in, for calm and clarity and peace to come in. And the other thing that I like that you said that I want to touch a little bit on too, like you're saying, trying to do all of that, controlling your thought and controlling the narrative, and oh my gosh, and this story, that story, and the stress that it takes, even if you're thinking good thinking, right? But you're telling yourself, oh, positive thinking, think good thoughts. It still does, like you said, it creates that stress. Is even if it's a thin layer of stress, it's not helpful. Okay. No, I know this is another like common saying, a little bit of stress is good for you. Keeps you going, keeps you motivated, working towards those goals. You just need that little bit of stress. No, you don't.
Mm.
It's like saying that a little bit of a cold is good for you. Why? How? It doesn't feel good. Even if it's a teeny tiny little bit, it doesn't make you feel good. You don't feel yourself. You don't feel like you're at 100%. Same thing when we're running these stories and we have a little bit of stress going on. You're not at 100%. You're not at your essence. You're not of clear mind and listening to your innate wisdom. You're caught up in your head. You're caught up in your stories. You're caught up in rewriting a narrative that, if you just get quiet, will write itself, and a beautiful one.
You know, when we, for me personally, when I try to figure things out and I've run off of that stress and feed into the stories I tell myself, I generally get more stressed out. I generally get tired and it just, not sure what to do. And it goes downhill because I'm constantly thinking of everything I'm going to lose, everything that I messed up. And when I get quiet and don't go off of that internal feedback, that noise, that's when I move up. That's when I see solutions, because it's the thinking that got me into the situation I was in anyway. And I want to say Einstein said that we'll never solve our problems with the same thinking that created them.
Yeah,
Gotta get quiet.
you really do. And it's not that hard. And that's the thing, we teach this, we talk about this every episode because we're pointing you to the truth. We're pointing you to something that is completely effortless. It really is.
And that does things that so much, like, I thought would never be possible.
Yes.
And how simple it is, how crazy it is that as soon as I stopped believing in taking all of my thinking seriously, like it was truth and I had to figure it out and I was all on my own. And, you know, once I stopped feeding that and saw it for just thought, oh, these feelings, it's just because I'm having difficult thinking. I'm stressing about something. I'm overthinking something and it's creating this cloudiness like in the water, you know? I'm in this little clear pond thing, but I'm going in and kicking up all the dirt and then I'm upset because I can't see.
Yeah.
And it's insane how simple it is, but how powerful it is. How just by understanding that it's my thinking in the moment and nothing more that is creating how I'm feeling. And I don't have to look to the outside world to fix it when I don't feel good, when I don't feel 100%. I can just look inside. I can get quiet and I can, even if I have to call it out to myself, like, this is just my thinking, and sit with that. Then all that mud clears. All of a sudden, I can see what I need to do to get to where I want to be.
Yeah. I love it. I love the pond and kicking around and stirring up the mud and whatever else is on the bottom of the pond. We do it because, yeah, somehow we think that trudging through that pond and flailing around and whatever is going to somehow fix what we're going through. We don't realize we're making a bigger mess, so to speak. We're making a bigger mess in our head. We're making a bigger mess out of our thinking. Simply, seriously, just out of what we're thinking. There's nothing wrong wanting to change your narrative. Nothing wrong with it. But when you change your narrative from a 3P standpoint and not from a mainstream controlling thoughts, it's a lasting change. It's a real change. It's the narrative, like I kind of think touched on earlier. It's the narrative that's true. It's the narrative that's innate. It's the narrative you're born with. And what's better than that? What's better than the truth? Not any of the stories I can make up in my head as a narrative about myself, because it's like you said, I've been there too. My narrative wasn't nice. The stories that I played in my head, the things I told myself I was over and over again. Not one of them was nice. Like you said, like it's always negative. We just go negative.
Well, and it's like our mind is a tool to protect us, okay? So it's set up to survive
Mhm,
with the tools that it has.
mhm.
So, of course, our thinking intellectual mind is going to always be scanning for danger. But fear and danger are two very separate things, and they feel very different. But because our minds don't want to experience the danger, it creates fear to keep us from danger. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it creates that fear, like you're saying, to keep us from the danger. And so our natural responses, the built in, the fight or flight freeze kick in, adrenaline kicks in, those types of things kick in. So, yeah, it totally makes sense what you're saying. We scare the shit out of ourselves.
Yes. Oftentimes, when there is no danger,
Hmm.
but even in situations where there are danger, when we can see that that panic that we feel is coming from the thinking that we're having, and we can step away from that thinking, even in a dangerous situation, okay, our wisdom will come through. We will know what to do. Even if we don't think we know what to do, we will know what to do when we can step out of that thought of, I don't know what to do.
Yeah,
We have this backup plan that will always take us up.
yeah. Um, she again. When you are faced, there are dangerous situations. Okay, there are dangerous circumstances. There are circumstances, where fear is a valid emotion to be having in the moment. But that is the difference, is coming from a space of clarity. Then yeah, it's like you don't think your way out of the fear. It just it just happens. Your wisdom does kick in. You're capable of more than you thought you were. With that clarity comes the plan to get you to safety, so to speak, to get you away from the fear, to, yep, lost that thought.
That's okay. I think that was the biggest turning point for me. That's when I realized that this wasn't all made up. First, when I could recognize that the outside wasn't creating how I felt on the inside. And I could see that because on the outside, everything looked perfect, like better than I had ever been in my life. Yet I still struggled daily with what was going on. And once I started looking at thought, the power of thought, the nature of thought, how it's constantly moving and flowing. We don't control it. We don't control the thoughts that come into our head. But we can control on if we believe them. And once I stopped believing them so much, even the ones that seemed so true, that really sounded like me. Like that was just who I was. It's like I got to disidentify with all the stories and let them pass. And the story that came up when I let go of all of that was one that I couldn't even imagine. Like I never imagined getting off my meds and being stable. I never imagined having the relationship that I have with my kids, because I messed up really bad when they were little. I was a drug addict and self-medicating for bipolar. They did not have fun.
Yeah.
And the relationship that we have today is better than anything I could have asked for. Like everything in my life just is better. And even the struggles, even when bad things happen, like having our vehicles robbed while we slept, it was shitty. It was inconvenient, but the experience of it happening 2 days ago when it happened was so much different than if it had happened 6 months, a year ago. So much different, because instead of all the things that could have been done, should have been done, got overlooked, so much blame could go in so many areas. But there was none of that. And not because me and my husband had to refrain from it, It was, well, that's shitty. Now we have a couple extra things to do. But it didn't ruin the day. That was not the highlight of the day by any means.
Right.
But it didn't create turmoil and hostility between my husband and I, which it very much would have, not because we blamed each other, but because of all the thoughts of how are we going to afford this? Of course it happens right now. Why didn't you log it? You always log. There's none of that. We got through it. We got through it quickly, and it was an inconvenience. Didn't want to do it, but we did it. When you don't believe all that thinking, when you don't feed into it, buy into it, and submerge yourself into it, get lost, it goes away. And every time it comes up and you see it for thought, it kind of goes away and dissipates. And then when it comes up again, it's not as loud and it's not as strong. And as long as you continue to look at the nature of thought, the power of thought, and that the thought itself is what's creating your feelings, and don't believe it to be true every time, it changes everything.
It really does. There's so many things that I've experienced, so many circumstances over the past few years that have come up that, yeah, once upon a time, the way I would have reacted to it would have been absurd, a little bit dramatic, over the top, but whatever I want to put on it. And that is the beautiful thing. There's no effort. I don't I don't ever sit here and say, "Ooh, control yourself. Ooh, don't get mad. Don't let that upset you." I don't. Sometimes, even when I have an intrusive thought or because we don't control our thoughts, or even just a negative thought or mean thought, I sometimes I laugh at them. when I recognize, that I will laugh and just like weird thought, okay. I don't feed it, I don't buy it, I don't fucking take it out to lunch, okay? And make it all cozy with me. I let it go because I see through that fake narrative, that inner dialogue that we have going on. It's like it's your fiction, right? It's the
Yeah.
fiction story that's going on in your head. It's not the autobiography of who you are. The autobiography is when you drop all those stories, all that fiction, all that programming, all that conditioning, all of whatever, and you drop into a space of clarity and calm. You get to see your autobiography, the one before any of that, the one before the stories and the programming. And guess what? There's no editing to do line by line anymore. You don't have to control that narrative because that narrative is perfect. I'm
It,
not saying every day is perfect, just saying the narrative of who you are is perfect. Even when it doesn't look like it, you have this deep knowing that it is, that you're fine. And that's the difference in those two narratives. One is fiction and the other one is truth.
I laugh at myself sometimes too. Like, and sometimes I'll get myself going and I'll be like far down that rabbit hole. I got all the tacks and the strings connecting everything together,
Yes.
and then I'll go to put that last connection and I'm like, oh, I made all this up. None of this is real. Oops. Because we can get deep into our stories at times. No matter how no matter how much we get this, we get into our stories at times. When we see it, when we catch ourselves in that story, we don't have to worry about, well, how did I get here? What brought me here? No, no. Just, oh, here I am doing this again. Oh, well, start over, drop it all.
Yeah. I love it. What's so beautiful of what you're saying there, and I'm going to put some words on there. You don't beat yourself up. You don't start a whole different narrative in your head and start bashing yourself for, oh my gosh, why did I think that way? Oh my gosh, why did I let myself get into a low mood? Oh my gosh, whatever, because you can. That's so easy to do. Like, oh, why would you think that? I can't believe it. Now you're just, I don't even know. But we do it. We do it when we see that we're getting caught up in our thinking. It's real easy to even go to bash yourself, to be not so nice, to give yourself a hard time and not give yourself a break for realizing that, oh, well, maybe I'm just a human being and oops, I tripped for a second.
Yeah.
So I love the way you were talking about it because, yeah, you recognized it for what it was and bam, done with it, out of it. No, oh shit, why did Jen have to think that? Why did Jen have to say that? Why is Jen feeding that thought? Why is Jen in the rabbit hole? What's Jen doing there? Like all of those questions that we could be asking ourselves in our heads when we don't do something the way we think we should,
Yeah.
that just creates so much crap, so much more chaos to go on instead of just being like Jen said, recognize it, let it go. Let it let it go.
Yeah. And it's just silly games that we play with ourselves. And it's like, we'll be tested. The thoughts will show up differently.
Mm-hmm.
sound a little different, look a little different to see if, you're going to pick up that rope and start playing the game.
Yes.
And as soon as you see you're playing the game, you drop the rope and walk away.
Yeah. You really do. Don't have to play the game. They do come. No, Halloween's almost here. So it's almost like they can put on a little costume, disguise themselves as something else. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So this thought's not working on you anymore. This thought's not going to take you into some sort of spiral or into some sort of ridiculous story that you want to believe about yourself. Let's try to put it in a different little packaging and present it this way. Will you believe it now?
Right.
And not realize it's just thought. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's just thought. Happy, sad, anxious, frustrated, joyful, excited, thought, all thoughts
I love it.
or feelings from thoughts, if you want me to really be technical, I guess, about it. But they all stem from thoughts.
And it's you can have fun with thoughts. You can play with thoughts. You can see thoughts. But you have to know that we are designed to go up and down. Okay? Now, the difference between going down a little and just like spiraling all the way down is in taking your thoughts serious, believing them to be true. Because we can have a low mood. We can be down and not feeling 100%. And that can be okay. When we don't get concerned, like a lot of people will be doing really good and then they'll go down. And when they go down, they get concerned. And then the stories start coming. And it can be we can easily get lost in those stories. How, oh, it didn't work, it only lasted a little while, and whatever you want to say. If you believe those thoughts, they will continue to make you feel worse. But when you go down into a low mood, when you know that it's only because of thought, and that thought, when left alone, will always change and move on no matter what, then you can go down in that low mood and all of a sudden it doesn't matter what put you here. It doesn't matter that you're here. You don't have to figure anything out. You can recognize it, know that the quality of your thinking has went down, and know that it's going to go back up if you just hang tight and don't engage with all of the scary stories and drama that's going on in your head. It's not going to manifest in the real world. And I'm not big on the whole manifesting, we all believe what we believe, things are how they are. But it doesn't change the fact that we have a universal intelligence at our core that makes not just us, but all things, and it has all that intelligence. Okay, life itself that knows how to live no matter where it's at. It will find a way. That's something we can rely on, especially when our moods go down and it looks kind of scary. You can rest in the fact that, oh, wait, I'm life itself. And if I stay out of my own way, I will move up.
Yeah. The all knowing intelligence. Yeah. It runs everything. It's in you. The same things. I'm not going to reiterate what Jen said. Just know that when the stories come in, and we want to believe whatever kind of story it is, whatever narrative you're playing, whatever book you're reading, recognize that it's okay if you get caught up a little bit in a drama. Okay, if you get caught up a little bit in a horror story, don't continue to read the book. No, like she said, you are life itself. You are made from the same thing. And I think the beautiful part about knowing that there's this all knowing intelligence, universal mind has our back at all times. When we do get caught up in those narratives, those not so nice stories, this is hope, the hope of a deep knowing that everything's going to be just fine. Everything is going to be okay. And I know sometimes it doesn't look like that. You look around outside yourself and you think, yeah, right. If you were in my shoes, you wouldn't say that. Let me
Yeah.
tell you, I've been in a lot of shoes. That doesn't sound very good, but I'm just going to go with it. I've been in a lot of shoes, and I know that there's hope for everyone. I know that this understanding changes lives, not for a little bit, not for just you know, a feel good technique, tactic, whatever modality. This is a forever thing. It is a forever changed. It is amazing and it's beautiful. And this is the story I want to be in. I want to be in the story of who I truly am. I want to be in my autobiography. I don't want to be in the fiction. I'm tired of the fiction.
Yeah, I've had some crazy adventures in my fiction. It's gotten me in a lot of places that I did not enjoy. But it taught me that I don't I don't have to go there. Because when I see where my experience is coming from, when I really start to look at the inside out nature of life, and I find myself caught up in one of those stories, and I remember that, and I look at it, and I see it as nothing more than thought, it it releases. It's like I kept myself in this cage for so long, thinking that that's all I got. And the door was never locked. I just didn't pull it the right way.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know what? It's as simple as noticing that when you get caught up in your own thinking, when you get caught up in those stories, you put the book down, close it, stop turning the pages on that book, close that book, put it down, and pick up the book of you.
And even if you want to read that book, just don't take it serious.
Yeah. Remember, you're reading fiction, not truth. Absolutely.
Don't believe everything you tell yourself.
Again, I'm going to invite you to get curious. Get curious and start looking in this direction. Start wondering, start noticing. And say, what if I am reading fiction? What if there is a real, authentic autobiography right here, ready to go? No editing necessary. ready to be published and shown to the world. We stop being so afraid of our thinking. Drop it.
Yeah.
If you want to reach out, you want to have a conversation, you want to get curious, reach out to Jen, reach out to myself, ask questions.
Yeah.
We're always here.
Always. Don't be afraid to reach out.
Hit that like, hit that subscribe,
Share.
share it. Oh, so cute. Share it with a friend. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye for now.